an unauthorized pro-democracy rally Sunday as protesters set up roadblocks and torched businesses, and police responded with tear gas and a water cannon. Protesters tossed firebombs, took their anger out on shops with mainland Chinese ties as they skirmished late in the evening with riot police, who unleashed numerous tear gas rounds on short notice, angering residents and passers-by. Police had beefed up security measures ahead of the rally, for which they refused to give permission. The latest chapter in the unrest that has disrupted life in the financial hub since early June.
I have a little one too.
Okay. From Kashmir, and not the sweater, Pakistani and Indian soldiers traded fire and disrupted Kashmir on Sunday, killing at least 9 people on both sides, officials said. The Indian military said Pakistani soldiers targeted an Indian border post and civilian areas along the highly militarized frontier in Kashmir early in the day, leaving 2 army soldiers and a civilian dead. From Bolivia, Bolivia President Evo Morales was leading in early returns from the first round of Sunday's presidential election, but appeared headed to a runoff in the tightest political race of his life. Bolivia's top electoral authority said that with 83% of the vote counted, Morales led with 45.3%, followed by 38.2% for his closest rival. From Louisiana, thundering explosions toppled 2 cranes Sunday that had loomed precariously for days over a partially collapsed hotel in New Orleans, in what city officials hailed as a success and said efforts now would focus on retrieving 2 bodies still inside the ruined building. And lastly, I have, from Lebanon, that's not what you have, is it?
No, I have a good news bit.
Okay, will do. From Lebanon, hundreds of thousands thronged public squares in the capital across Lebanon on Sunday as in the largest protest the country has seen since 2005, unifying an often divided public in revolt against traditional leaders who have ruled for 3 decades and brought the economy to the brink of disaster. Kendra.
Okay, and some quick good news. As you know, Larry, I just did a comedy show with firefighters, so it's caught my eye.
Mm-hmm.
Firefighters calm girl in car crash. In Utah, 2 Utah firefighters responding to a car crash left the scene with purple manicures after calming a young girl upset over the collision. North Davis Fire District Chief Alan Hadley and Captain Kevin Lloyd checked on a crying and screaming girl while medics evaluated her mother. The 2 dads, both fathers of young girls, soothed the upset girl by allowing her to paint their nails after the car crash this month in northern Utah city of Clearfield. The North Davis Fire District praised the firefighters for their quick thinking. "This is how amazing our firefighters are," the district wrote. "Nobody was seriously hurt in the crash, and their nails look fabulous."
I'm there. Back to Lincoln Journal-Star. It is now time at 10:20 for our local and legislative news. Headline in the Lincoln Journal-Star first: new store, same scoops. UNL Dairy Store hopes to usher in new East Campus era with move. The dairy store has been serving up scoops and smiles to students and families on the University of Nebraska Lincoln's East Campus since 1917. What started as a small shop that offered all-you-can-drink milk for a nickel has since grown into a go-to spot for handmade ice cream in Lincoln. Now, the store has made the move to a larger, modernized area on the north side of Philly Hall and the food industry complex. The move is one of the first steps toward the university's Legacy Plaza project, a central green space expected to serve as the focal point for activity on East Campus. Legacy Plaza will be surrounded by the new dairy store location and Massengale Residential Center, along with a revamped Nebraska East Union and C.Y. Thompson Library. Manager Leroy Braden said he's excited to see a campus landmark like the dairy store ushering a new era for East Campus. "It's going to be fun seeing the big picture unfold," he said. The Legacy Plaza project launched in 2015 under the direction of UNL Chancellor Ronnie Green, who at the time served as Vice Chancellor for the Institute of Agriculture and Natural Resources. Braden said construction for the new space began 3 to 4 months ago, but he never noticed any lapse in business. "There were no hiccups," Braden said. "I don't feel like we lost any business off the move." Even in its new location, which requires customers to follow some winding hallways to find the store, Braden said business is running smoothly. "This place is hopping pretty much throughout the day," he said. While the new location offers a modern take on the store that's been part of UNL's culture for over a century, change often comes with some obstacles. For Braden, One of the chief complaints he's received from customers is accessibility. The store is located further inside the building than its previous location, which directly faced the East Campus Loop. It's a concern that Braden said has been passed along to people within the university. I was slightly worried at the beginning. Parking and accessibility are still something we want to address, he said. We don't want to feel like we're excluding anybody. We have had some complaints from some about it being a further walk than normal. Coinciding with the dairy store's new location, ice cream and cheese production is moving to the Food Innovation Center at Nebraska Innovation Campus. Braden said the move can inspire new products for the dairy store, such as protein shakes or yogurt. For Laura Nelms, a senior at UNL and 3-year employee at the dairy store, the new location allows families to experience East Campus from a different perspective. Before, families were only able to access from the street, so they weren't able to see what East Campus had to offer, she said. I think that East Campus is kind of a hidden jewel, and now that you access it from inside the building, you have more opportunities to go into campus and do different things. Nelms said the dairy store and East Campus capture the essence of Nebraska because of its history and the connection it creates with those who visit it. A lot of families will come in and be like, oh, my grandpa used to come here and he would get this certain flavor of, or I worked here in college in the 80s, she said. It's kind of a historical thing that people can come back and reflect on. Kendra.
Investors are pleased. UP has cut its workforce by 13% in the past year. Of the 5,700 job losses, at least 160 were at the Omaha HQ as precision scheduled railroading efforts kick in. In the past year, the average length of a Union Pacific Railroad train has grown by about 21 freight cars. The distance a typical freight car travels in a day has climbed by 20 miles to more than 200. And the railroad now has 2,600 locomotives parked and idled. Those are some of the initial results of the precision scheduled railroading plan Union Pacific rolled out a year ago, a strategy that seeks to streamline operations by running trains faster and making more efficient use of rolling assets. But that drive for efficiency has also taken a big toll on the workforce of one of Omaha's largest and most important employers. Just in the past year, the Fortune 500 company that's essentially been based in Omaha since Abraham Lincoln was president has cut its nationwide employee numbers by 5,700 to about 36,700, a reduction of more than 13%. And its leaders are projecting hundreds of additional job cuts yet this year. The dive Union Pacific and other railroads have taken into precision scheduled railroading has been well received by Wall Street. The operational efficiency led to a lower operating ratio, essentially the percentage of each dollar received that is spent running the railroad. And that makes the railroad more competitive and profitable. The increased operating efficiency helped Union Pacific last week post a third quarter earnings gain of 3%. That was despite the fact that total rail volume was actually down by 8%. We have made a number of changes in our operations in the past year, and the results have been outstanding, says Jim Venna, Union Pacific's chief operating officer. But railway workers unions see the industry's efforts to speed up the trains and run more efficiently as a locomotive barreling down the tracks right at them. Railroad workers understand that precision scheduled railroading is a direct attack on us, a war being waged by the carriers that affects employees of all carriers and all crafts, said Mark Burrows of the Railroad Workers United, an association of rail unions. The unions say precision railroading could ultimately compromise safety for both workers and the public. They say the concept is in part built on deferred maintenance, lax safety standards, reduced infrastructure investment, and cuts in manpower. Lance Fritz, UP's chairman, president, and CEO, maintains that the precision plan will boost productivity and be more reliable for customers while not compromising safety. The railroad also said its capital investments this year will total $3.1 billion, close to the $3.2 billion spent in 2018. Jeff Window, who analyzes Union Pacific for investment firm Edward Jones, said that while the railroad is still early in its implementation of precision railroading, the operational gains it offered up last week showed strong progress. But he said for workers, one of the unfortunate byproducts of faster trains and reductions from rolling stock is a smaller workforce. There is a lot of management fortitude that's required, Window said. When terminals get shut down, they're dealing with employees and people's lives. There is some pain in doing that. Union Pacific a year ago became the latest rail carrier to implement precision scheduled railroading, an operational tactic that in recent years has been fundamentally changing the railroad industry across the country. You think of railroads as a stodgy old industry because it's been around forever, Window said. What's happening is really an interesting story as carriers seek to improve efficiencies. While precision railroading has many elements, it basically revolves around shifting the operational focus from moving trains to moving individual freight cars, trying to get them to customers on fixed point-to-point schedules. To keep freight moving, switching of cars is minimized. That limits the time cars spend dwelling in terminals, waiting to be sorted, switched, and routed to their destinations. They don't want to have a lot of assets laying around, Window said. Not only does that get the cars moving faster, less idle time allows the railroads to maintain fewer cars to move the same amount of freight. Reducing the idle time and running longer trains similarly reduces the need for locomotives. Another concept of precision railroading is seeking to balance directional traffic east-west and north-south to allow for more efficient two-way use of assets and crews. The goal of precision railroading isn't necessarily cutting costs and workers, but if an unneeded locomotive can be set aside, the crew that operates it can be furloughed or laid off too. The railroad would also no longer need the crews that maintain the locomotive. It will generate productivity in terms of locomotive utilization, car utilization, as well as crew utilization, Fritz said in October 2018 after Union Pacific rolled out what's called the Unified Plan 2020. When it comes to the bottom line, Union Pacific's goal was to reduce its operating ratio from 62% to 60% by 2020, ultimately planning to take it down to 55%. By the end of the year, it wanted to achieve $500 million in operational savings. In January, Union Pacific coaxed industry veteran Vena out of retirement, tasking him with implementing the precision plan. Vena already had the playbook down, having worked on a similar strategy during a 4-decade career with the Canadian National Railway. Union Pacific was coming to precision railroading after many other major carriers, but Vena said he thought UP would become an industry leader. Vena said that as he toured the railroad's facilities, his discussions showed many frontline rail workers had also bought into the vision. They want to get better, he said. He told industry publication Rail News, they see the end game. As Union Pacific has rolled out Unified Plan 2020, it has shut down a number of rail facilities across the country. UP operates in 23 states. In Nebraska, the railroad earlier this year closed a maintenance facility in Morrell, a move that cost the jobs of 68 workers. Since June, cuts in North Platte at Bailey Yards, the world's largest switching facility, led to a layoff of 133 workers. Just last week, Union Pacific also shut down its Neff Hump switching facility in Kansas City, Missouri. The railroad earlier this year shut down similar facilities in Hinkle, Oregon, and Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Vena said at the time that the reducing switching volumes, the yards were simply no longer needed. I don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to shut down another hump yard, he said. UP's earnings report Thursday provided an opportunity for the railroad to show a snapshot of its first-year progress under Precision Railroading Company. Company officials offered up the results of a number of performance metrics they've been tracking. Just in the past 9 months, the average length of a train is up 1,050 feet to over 8,000 feet, a gain of 15%. And by the way, given the average train speed of 24 miles per hour, that means typically you spend another 30 seconds at a crossing waiting for the train to pass. In the railroad's southwestern United States corridor, trains are 18% longer. System-wide, the average locomotive is also 18% more productive, allowing the railroad to park more of them. The focus on moving cars rather than trains has cut idle time for cars and terminals by 20%. On-time delivery has also improved by 10 percentage points, and said the railroad. All we are trying to do is move cars as fast as possible, Vena said. There is even a metric that measures how efficiently the railroad is using its people, called daily rail car miles per full-time employee. That's up 4%. However, even with the drop in traffic, the employment cuts laid out last week exceed what would be expected with the level of worker efficiency. Union Pacific said that the 13% overall job reduction includes a 13% cut of it. I can talk. Okay, 13% cut to its train, engine, and yard workforce, and 50% cuts in management, engineering, and mechanical fields. The railroad declined to provide location-specific job reductions, including at its headquarters in Omaha. A company memo obtained by the World Herald showed that the company cut about 160 Omaha employees in February, but Union Pacific employees say there have been other rounds of cuts as well. The Union Pacific officials said they expect further workforce reductions in the final quarter of the year. And while they did not give a specific number, it appears from their target to involve roughly 1,200 in additional jobs. That would bring the 15-month total of lost jobs since precision railroading was launched to nearly 7,000 people. While industry officials frequently talk about the efficiency gained through precision railroading, rarely mention is what such deep job cuts do to employee morale. There was no such talk amid the metrics offered up during last week's briefing. Amid a previous round of cuts last year, Fritz acknowledged in a statement that the job cuts are extremely difficult decisions to make because we recognize the impact they have on families, friends, and coworkers. Union Pacific leaders last week did not share any metrics on safety. Vena reported only that the railroad's incident experience had not improved and that it was committed to getting better. When it comes to the bottom line, Union Pacific said its operating ratio for the third quarter set a company record at 59.5%, already eclipsing the 60% target set for next year. For 2019, Union Pacific is on track to reach its $500 million operational savings goal. Operating efficiencies have helped the railroad become more profitable despite the shipping volume reduction from uncertainty over tariffs, trade, and reductions in coal consumption. Fritz said the operating gains will leave the railroad in an even stronger position. Even rail volumes pick up again, as they inevitably will. We are in a great place to compete for business, Fritz said. That's where the work that the operating team has been doing on a train size really pays off. Volume growth is going to be our friend. Vena said there is still much more operational efficiency to be gained. It's a long game that will play out for years. And we have to be smart about it, he said. You don't want to blow up the place.
Yes. Back to the Lincoln Journal-Star. In local and legislative news, this column written by Don Walton, a staff writer for the Lincoln Journal-Star. He writes mostly on state legislative issues, but sometimes he veers off into his own opinion. So be prepared for that. It is on the local page, so that's where I'll read it. It's entitled, Kerry, quote, "There is no bottom of the barrel," unquote. Bob Kerry was back home at his alma mater in Lincoln last week to deliver an address at the University of Nebraska College of Law, and his intellectual energy and curiosity filled the room. Without text or notes, which he jettisoned in favor of journeying back and forth without a seatbelt, Kerry spoke to his audience about the importance of John Marshall and Louis Brandeis and the U.S. Supreme Court as an institution. If you took Marshall out of this country, this would be a much different country, Kerry said. We got lucky. You can't buy the court, Kerry declared. You can buy Congress. Naturally, questions following his address turned to the state of America and its leadership today. In the age of party over country, partisanship over partnership in the time of Trump. Former Attorney General John Bruning touched on it briefly when he introduced Kerry as the speaker for this year's John Bruning Public Service Lecture. Bruning, a Republican who came agonizingly close to winning the GOP nomination for governor in 2014 after narrowly losing a bid for the GOP Senate nomination in 2012, saluted Kerry, the former Democratic governor and U.S. Senator. It's important to have a relationship with people in the other party, he said. I sometimes worry about the path we're on, Bruning said. Carney was questioned by an audience member about this week's events, which included the president's abandonment of the Kurds, the apparent green light to Turkey to invade northern Syria, the departure of a U.S. military presence opening the path to expand Russian presence and influence in the Middle East, and there's more. Are we at the bottom of the barrel? Kerry was asked. No, he said. There is no bottom to it. I don't think he, the president, respects the Constitution, Kerry said, and the country is endangered if we normalize that behavior. But, Kerry said, I think he's right on some things, including contesting China's trade practices and behavior. The challenge now is about us, Kerry said. Washington reflects who we are. And looking ahead, he said, I'm extremely optimistic and positive. Flood control in the Missouri River is a big burgeoning issue now. Water released into the river from the Fort Randall Dam in South Dakota, a few miles from the Nebraska border, partnered with snow, rain, and huge sheets of dislodged ice to create a $1 billion flooding disaster in Nebraska last March, along with causing substantial damage in bordering states. And this clearly can, and probably will, happen again. All you need to do is listen to the governor's call-in radio show to know that there is fear and foreboding out there, along with some concern that the Army Corps of Engineers is not adequately or fairly factoring in the damage downstream when it reaches a decision to release water from the series of dams along the Missouri. It's also possible that there may now be a need for new flood control work on the river. Governor Pete Ricketts and the governors of Iowa, Kansas, and Missouri are on the case, and Ricketts has made it clear to callers that he is going to remain strongly and vigorously engaged. Major infrastructure improvement in the United States, which has fallen far behind in other countries in terms of modern rail, highway, and air transportation advancements, has been all big talk and no real action so far. Well, let's put Missouri River flood control on that infrastructure to-do list. And what Don Walton calls finishing up, he writes, how do you cram the newest biography of Winston Churchill into one volume? 1,000 pages, and that's just the highlights. Just asking, does the continuing flow of tens of millions of dollars in unanticipated revenue into the state treasury present an opportunity now to more aggressively attack prison reform needs like staff salaries, prison programming, parole, and community programs? And or provide an opportunity to use some of those additional dollars to reduce student tuition costs that price out many families from their state university or leave students saddled with huge long-term debt. Kerry announced on Facebook that he'll support former Vice President Joe Biden for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination. Biden would be a, quote, president ready to hit the ground running, Kerry said, suggesting that the former VP also would honor science and facts and renew our fight against climate change. Former Senator Ben Nelson is also supporting Biden. And lastly, he writes, looking ahead to a better Husker second half of the season and spring training. That writer is Don Walton, staff writer at Lincoln Journal-Star. Kendra.
Okay, and we still have time for more local. Good. Even without longtime home, Christ Child Society pop-ups help family. They don't have the brick and mortar space they once did, but the Christ Child Society of Omaha is still thriving, and volunteers continue to help new moms and students in need. You might see the local group, which dates back a century now, is mobile, carrying out its operation in more of a pop-up fashion. Take Wednesday, when the nonprofit took one of its main activities, a diaper bag stuffing event that sends bundles of baby goods to financially strapped parents, to Omaha Duchenne's Academy. Volunteers set up assembly line stations in a hall. About 100 students, assisted by preschoolers, spent the morning helping society members put bottles, handmade, did that really say preschoolers? Okay. Spent the morning helping society members put bottles, handmade blankets, bibs, and more than 500 layette bags that were delivered to about 15 organizations that work with families. And among those pitching in was Claire Halpin, 18, who wanted families on the receiving end to know young people care. That there's somebody thinking about them and they're not alone, she said. Such activities in the past have been done at the former Christ Child Center at 10th and William Streets, which in 2016 was sold to neighboring St. Francis Cabrini Parish. At the time of the sale, the Omaha Archdiocese Catholic Charities owned and operated the facility that in 1968 replaced a mansion that has served as Christ Child Society's home base since 1923. Sue Celine, board president of the local chapter of the National Christ Child Society, said supporters never stopped charitable work, but they started to gather in different and various places. Duchenne has hosted several Leah assemblies. The local chapter, which numbers about 100 members, also is expanding its college scholarship program, started about 5 years ago. We do a lot of good without a lot of real estate, Celine said. Larry?
Back to the Lincoln Journal-Star. Headline, Biker Bridge still closed. Sub-headline, but a cleanup at Span over Platte coming soon. The trees hit the lead Platte River Bridge like battering rams during the flood, flattening a few hundred feet of railing and damaging some of the concrete icebreakers on its upstream side. The Biker Bridge near South Bend, owned by a pair of natural resources districts and maintained by the state, has been closed since March. But its caretakers are now moving forward with a plan to get it repaired and reopened. The Papio and Lower Platte South districts have both approved a plan to take the first step. Hiring a contractor to clear the bridge of debris, most of it uprooted trees and limbs carried downstream by the flooding. That work is set to start this winter. It could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, most of which should be covered by federal flood repair funds, said Eric Williams, Papio's natural resources planner. And it must be done before engineers can determine whether the structure itself was damaged, he said. We need to remove the debris in order for a more complete structural inspection of the girders that span the piers and the piers themselves, Williams said. The districts will be responsible for any inspection and repair costs not covered by federal funds, and the Game and Parks Commission will pay any local share of the cleanup cost, he said. The districts hope to have the bridge itself repaired next year, but it won't lead anywhere. The flooding also dumped sand on the Sarpy County side, burying the entire half mile of trail from the bridge to the trailhead parking lot in Nebraska 31. The closures created a disconnect in this month's market-to-market relay, an annual race from Omaha to Lincoln each fall. This year, officials put in what they called a halftime, where all runners loaded into the team van and rode across the Platte River before resuming the race. They hope repairs are complete by 2020. The trail needs to be repaired and reconstructed, and we don't have a clear understanding of how that's going to happen or a timeline, Williams said. Kendra.
From the notebook of Aaron Grace, hilly spots are ideal for taking in nature's colorful fall display. Did you have something about fall too?
No.
Oh, I was thinking you said something about colors. Nature's free fall show is starting with the peak days forecast from about Halloween into early November. I considered this while driving to and from Glenwood, Iowa last week. The hilly scenic non-interstate route was pretty but still mainly green. Douglas County Horticulture Program Coordinator Scott Evans said the trees need a little more time. The upside of all this rain means a more colorful landscape. Walnut and ash trees are changing and dropping their leaves. Sumac is reaching its peak. Oaks, maples, and other hardwoods have some more time. Of course, people can inject fall color into their yards by planting mums, although time is running out for that. Evans assured my inner procrastinator that it's almost better to wait until spring so they get better established. Where is the best place to view fall leaves? The answer boils down to this in northeast Nebraska or western Iowa, anywhere with hills. Evans suggested the Platte River State Park's viewing tower, 85 feet from the ground level. On Twitter, others suggested the following. Take a drive along U.S. Highway 75. Visit Preparation Canyon State Park in Iowa, which is about an hour's drive northeast of downtown Omaha. Go to Indian Cave State Park, about a 90-mile drive south of downtown Omaha. One of my favorite places is the Omaha Memorial Park on Underwood. Second part of this, the Woodman Tower is Omaha's mood ring. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's purple, sometimes it's pink. The 30-story building at 1700 Dodge Street, Omaha's first skyscraper, hey world, we got two, is capable of flashing some 16 million different colors and graphics. That's a rainbow on a lot of steroids. The tower was lit the other day for bosses. The color was not black. October 16th, National Bosses Day, was my favorite color, blue. Now, every day on the calendar is a cause, and where there's a cause, there's a color for the Woodman Tower, which graciously lights itself up at night to reflect something bigger than its 478-foot self. On home game nights, the tower goes Blue Jay blue for Creighton men's basketball, or pink for breast cancer awareness, or orange for Hunger Action Month, or teen dating violence awareness. The Woodman doesn't light up for just anyone. Though the company has fielded requests for anniversaries, birthdays, and even a marriage proposal, company policy says the lights aren't for promotion of self, corporation, political interest, or religious occasion. The lights are supposed to flash in support of the greater good. The Woodman's Life website offers more information. Tower lightings are posted on Facebook, and a Woodman Life spokeswoman said those posts are the fraternal organization's most shared and liked. Woodman Life started lighting the building in June of 2014 after installing 164 banks of lights. Its default setting is a Woodman Life blue. At least 3 times a week, Woodman Life flashes other colors for other causes, even bosses, because, well, bosses need a beacon too. And lastly, 3 Omaha metro area high school students involved in the U.S. military's Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps program recently were singled out for impressive awards in the Army ROTC program. Mary Burks of Benson High and, Loremido Camacho, and that's Loredmi, and that's Camacho of Bryan High School, were honored. They were among 27 recipients, among some 314,000 high school cadets across the U.S., 3 U.S. territories, and in the U.S. Department of Defense schools overseas to receive the JROTC Legion of Valor Bronze Cross. This is the organization's second highest honor, is given to high school students who make top grades in school and in their military coursework. Burke, 18, is the daughter of Jed and Kelly Burks. She is battalion commander for Benson. She also has a 4.3 grade point average and is involved in the cheer team, National Honor Society, Academic Bowl team, and Benson High Ambassador program. She plans to become a military medical officer and attend college. Camacho is the daughter of Roman Camacho and Celisa Ruiz. She is battalion commander for Bryan High School. She is ranked 3rd in her class, 4.46 GPA. She's also senior class treasurer, member of National Honor Society, Science Olympiad, and other academic and leadership programs. She has enlisted in the U.S. Army and wants to become a military engineer. Luke Sumner of La Vista School won the Legion of Valor Bronze Cross Award this year, and the 17-year-old has a 4.0 GPA and is also involved in school community activities, including Papillion Mayor's Youth Council. He's an Eagle Scout, practices Taekwondo, and volunteers at an assisted living facility in his church. He is the son of Wayne and Karen Sumner. I think the younger generation's doing pretty good there.
Yes. It is now 10:50, time for our reading of our death notices for the week. I have 3 from Lincoln Journal-Star. I'll start off. Velma Lou Eastman, 90 years old. Services, massive Christian burial, Wednesday at 11 a.m. at St. Elizabeth. Excuse me, I had to sneeze, excuse me, folks. Massive Christian burial, Wednesday at 11 a.m. at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Catholic Church in North Platte, Nebraska. In lieu of flowers, the family suggests memorials to the Alzheimer's Association. Norman D. Judds, Judds, also 90. Services will be at 10 a.m. Friday, October 25th at Wyuka Funeral Home. No visitation. Interment will be at Wyuka Cemetery. And lastly, I have Tracy Leon Martin, 52 years old. Tracy passed away October 14th. And he passed away in Lincoln, Nebraska on October 14th, survived by his mother, Mary Jo Martin, brothers Gary Martin, and others. Back to you, Kendra, for the reading of the Omaha obituary section.
We do have 24, so there's quite a few. Banders, Catherine R. Banders, Bandars, age 69. Celebration of Life service Saturday, October 26th at 10:30 at the West Center Chapel, with luncheon to follow at the mortuary. Memorials are suggested to the hands, hearts, and paws of Omaha: Heafy, Hoffman, Dorick, and Cutler. Burke, Barbara A. Burke, age 86. No service memorials to the American Parkinson's Disease Association, Heafy, Hoffman, Dwork, and Cutler. Dungan, Michael L. Dungan, a veteran, age 83. Funeral service will be Wednesday, October 23rd, 10 a.m. at St. Leo Catholic Church. Michael's body was donated to the Nebraska Anatomical Board. Etsy, Joseph Joe J. Etsy, 91 of Ashland, Nebraska. Massive Christian burial. Tuesday, October 22nd, 10 a.m. Mary Catholic Church, St. Mary, in Ashland. Let's see. Memorial of Choice at the Marcy Mortuary in Ashland, Nebraska. Franksman, with 2 N's, Alex J., a veteran, age 84. Funeral at 11 a.m. while there's visitation on October 22nd at 10 a.m. at West Center Chapel. The funeral 11 a.m., same place. Interment, resurrection with full military honors. Memorials are suggested to the Alzheimer's Association. Heafy, Hoffman, Dwork, and Cutler. Johnson, Edward R., 96. Celebration of life at 11 a.m. At Bethany Funeral Home. And prior to that, there is a visitation. That's October 22nd. Bethany Funeral Home. Keller. Lloyd E. Keller, aged 87, complete notice later. Heafy, Hoffman, Dwork, Cutler. Kowal, Paul C., age 88, complete notice later. Heafy, Hoffman, Dwork, Cutler. Cromer, Jerome, age 78, arrangements are pending. Bethany Funeral Home. Nellum, Jeanette, age 90, funeral services October 23rd, 11 a.m. at Zion Baptist Church in Omaha. Nothing about memorials on that one, or even funeral. Nolet, Evelyn May Nolet, age 86. Funeral services are Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019, 10 a.m. at the Discovery Presbyterian Church with burial at West Lawn Hillcrest Cemetery. Memorials are suggested to the Alzheimer's Association or American Heart Association. Bethany Funeral Home. Busy. Paulson, Donald E. The family will receive friends on Monday, October 21st, age 85, from 10:30 to 11:30 at the West Center Chapel, followed by services at 11:30 a.m. And the interment will be Evergreen Memorial. So I assume the chapel they're talking about is the Heafy, Hoffman, Dwork, Cutler. Pisci, Pisci, Marianne, age 68. Massive Christian burial, Tuesday, October 22nd, 11 a.m. St. Bernadette Church. Memorials requested to St. Jude's Hospital or St. Bernadette Church. Heafy, Hoffman, Dwork, and Cutler. Quist, John Quist, veteran, age 88. Services Wednesday, October 23rd, 11 a.m. Shepherd of the Hills Lutheran Church. In lieu of flowers, memorials are suggested to Shepherd of the Hills Lutheran Church. Ritonia, John J. III, Ritonya, age 50. Services Monday, October 21st at 1 p.m. Faith Westwood United Church. Memorials to Ritonia Children's Education Fund and C.P. Hoffman, Dwork, and Cutler. Sloger, Frank J. Sloger, a veteran, 92. Private family service. In lieu of flowers, memorials to Brookstone Meadows Music Fund. Roeder Mortuary. Smith, Thomas M. II, age 45. Massive Christian burial, Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. at St. Patrick's Catholic Church in Elkhorn. Memorials to the family for the Children's Education Fund. Condolences to the Reichmuth Funeral Home.com. Sorrells, Sharon Sorrells, age 74, Walnut, Iowa. Sorry. Massive Christian burial, Tuesday, October 22nd, 11 a.m., St. Patrick Catholic Church, Walnut, Iowa. Stender, Jerry A. Stender, veteran, age 70. Visitation Tuesday, I gotta hurry. Massive Christian burial, Wednesday at 11 a.m. at St. John's Catholic Church. Interment at Omaha National Cemetery, memorials to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Wounded Warrior Project, Corsico, Lark, and Statsko, Funeral Home. Stowe, Judith K. Stowe, MD, age 79. Memorial Mass for Judith will be Tuesday, October 22nd, 10 a.m., St. John's Church, Creighton University. Memorials made in honor of Lois Landis to multiple myeloma research, care of Karen Hand. Interment will be in Nebraska City. John A. Gentleman Mortuaries. Takashi Kimi Takashi, 101 years old. Wow. Complete notice later. Hebe Huffman, door and color. Wageman Esther E., age 85. Master Christian Burial, Tuesday, October 22nd. St. Cecilia Cathedral, Hebe Hoffman, Doric West Center. We still have one more there. Welter Joseph John J. the third Welter, age 70. Memorial service 10:30 October 22nd at St. Margaret Mary's Catholic Church. And my last one, really quick. Woolery Mike V., a veteran, 71. Visitation Tuesday 5 to 7, John A. Gentleman, 72nd Street Chapel, private interment in Ogallala, Nebraska. And that's it.
Okay. That'll take us just about up to our time. I will say this. Listeners' memorials to the Radio Talking Book Network are tax deductible and go a long way to keeping Radio Talking Book on the air. Please keep Radio Talking Book in mind when memorials are listed as donor's choice or your favorite charity. Donation should be sent to Radio Talking Book Network, 7101 Newport Avenue, Suite 205, Omaha, Nebraska, 68152. Thank you for being a Radio Talking Book listener and supporter. It is almost straight up 11 o'clock. We're going to turn it over for a small break back to the ever long-tressed Ryan. Take it away, Ryan.
Thank you very much, Larry. All right, it's time
Did
for
you
this
have
week
some
on
to
Great
read?
Business. We do this
I did
every
read
day
them.
about midway through the ratings of the Omaha.
I already forgot. That's right, you went first. Hello.
Concrete.
I got up at 5:30 this morning because my body made me get up. So I'm still not here.
The Meals on Wheels menu today is orange chicken stir fry with whole grain spaghetti pasta, peas and carrots, whole grain vegetable egg
You make
roll,
it?
strawberry
Your
yogurt
body's on
cup,
order.
sour cream, and 1%
Yeah.
milk.
Well, the pharmacy student
The
gave me my
Good
injection of
Heart
B12
Gathering
and
is a
half of it went on a cotton ball that dribbled down my arm.
The next event is Thursday, October 24th at 10 a.m. They meet at the Salvation Army's Dora Bingle Senior Center, which is at 923 North 38th Street, which is a block north of 38th and Cumming, and it is located in the Durham Booth Manor building. Again, that is the Good Heart Gathering, a new support group for caregivers. It is a time of spiritual encouragement, conversation, and prayer, all in an enjoyable 55-minute activity. Materials are provided. If you have any questions, please call Cindy at 402-898-5854.
Forgetting about telling my son about the haunted
Here are
houses.
some important changes that have come
I'm
to the
around
Share
here.
Fair program.
Well, we're giving away
You can now
passes
purchase
or
up to 4
discounts
Captain
up there.
Fun books
We are.
monthly.
Yeah, they're to the one that's like
These
30
coupon books will
minutes
be valid
to the west.
for as long as they are available, though Share Fair will soon be converting to a refreshable digital card option. You may also submit receipts for ride-sharing services such as Uber and Lyft,
Get in, I
up
don't know
to
what the
a
normal price is, but you
maximum
can get in
of
for 23.
$50 per month.
But they've got, at this place, they've got 3 different kinds of tier. So they've got a haunted house and like,
If you have any questions
haunted
or
other
feedback,
stuff.
please call Lisa
Haunted
Johnson,
marriages, haunted ex-wives?
Executive Director,
well, it might be that they have a hayride and then a farm or something.
9814.
Because it's very competitive.
My
Youngest son took our grandson and his girlfriend out to Vala's and that's quite the zoo.
Well, I heard the other day, I went golfing Saturday and guys drove by there
Lines.
It was absolutely
Nuts.
horrendous. The traffic, the line was.
I would never go during a weekend. But they went early enough so it wasn't quite as bad. I mean, they went, not this weekend, it was the weekend before. We celebrated my daughter-in-law's birthday, I had my show, and we did Halloween.
This pilot workshop will help AFA develop the
Shouldn't
most
be
successful
eating this, but I
curriculum
am.
methods for those with
I
special vision
had
needs.
I had time today since I was up so early. I had peanut butter toast. That's why I don't have my cheese with me.
Oh,
And then I see this orange muffin. It's like, oh, calling me names. Let's just call it what it is. It's a
That's the name
cupcake.
on it.
Senior adults,
Cupcake.
personal attendance, or guardians.
So I already had my coffee and everything. You want to have
At the end
this?
of the
No,
workshop,
no,
AFA will hold an art
I got the,
show and
I
recital
got the orange muffin patch on. I'm trying to quit.
This will be held Details on the will be
That's
every
good. I love
Thursday,
that. That's
5:30
funny.
p.m. to 7 p.m.
Now I'm looking at this going, is that as fuzzy? Hopefully not.
No class on
Need to be put in the
Thanksgiving, and
microwave
only
and put
13
butter on it.
classes total.
Slice it and
God,
cut it in half or thirds and put butter on it.
Will
Oh,
be the art show
Mm,
and a
you're evil.
recital.
This is bad enough
The
without thinking of
location
that.
is at St. Thomas Lutheran Church, 17007
Yeah.
Houston.
It was last week that was
And the total
microwaveless
semester is
for like
$70.
24 hours.
48
hours.
Complete
How do you
registration
survive?
by
I
phone
didn't.
with
I had to boil my own water. It was
Lloyd,
terrible.
Executive Director.
I had to build a fire and use flint to light it.
708-3085.
It was barbaric.
we gonna start
Thank
with
you,
the,
Becca and Jane
I
and
can.
Shelley,
Okay.
for all those PSAs and the senior life. All right, my friends, this is the Radio Talking Book Network in Omaha.
These are always
Nebraska.
interesting.
We've been proudly serving our blind and visually impaired listeners for 45 years. Radio Talking Book is brought to you with the cooperation of KIOS-FM in Omaha and statewide through the facilities of NET Radio and Television. We want to thank all of you for being loyal Radio Talking Book listeners and supporters. Let us now switch back to Studio A for the second hour of the live reading of the Lincoln Journal-Star and the Omaha World-Herald. Coming back to the microphones here once again are Kendra Karbowski and Larry Thornton. Go ahead, guys.
Thank you, the ever-popular Ryan. From the Public Pulse and the Omaha World-Herald, let's protect the birds. Study says birds are declining at an alarming rate. Already, 3 billion are gone from Canada and the U.S. since 1970 due to predators and other reasons. Half a century ago, the population was around 10.1 billion. That has fallen 29% to about 7.2 billion. We need to revive the bird populations since they are an asset in eating all the damaging bugs and insects. We should trap feral cats and give them to the Nebraska Humane Society or other animal agency. All households should put up a birdhouse, feeding station, and water, especially during winter months. Let's once again listen to the birds' beautiful songs from Robert E. Fonfara of Omaha. Election eligibility. This is the response to John Christensen's Unwise Voters October 17th public polls. He proposes that anybody who voted for President Donald Trump should be banned from further voting. Just think, if his dream comes true, he could be just like North Korea. Every 4 years, the Supreme People's Assembly of North Korea holds its election. There is only one name on the ballot. Guess who? Everyone from the age of 17 on up is required to vote. These elections are tight. You win by either 100% or 99.99%. I would submit that those who voted for Trump should be given a second chance to confess their sins and gratefully be incarcerated in a re-education camp. Sorry. From Pete Minks of Omaha. More on that same one. Different John Christensen. My name is John Eric Christensen. I am the former chancellor of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. On October 17th, a public pulse letter ran from another John Christensen, spelled exactly like mine, and commented on unwise voters, as discussed previously. It has occurred to me that readers may confuse that piece as being submitted by me. It was not. I want the record to be clear on that point. My request in this clarity should not be interpreted as making any political statement, but pressing for accuracy and clarity. And to their credit, World Herald editors, when made aware of the coincidence of the names, did print an editor's note online advising readers that the person submitting that letter was not, in fact, me. Hopefully in the future, the John Christensen submitting a piece will include his full legal name. This is from John Eric Christensen of Omaha. Appreciate diverse opinions. People love to voice their opinion, which is an excellent value of living in the United States. Letting people voice their opinion is what makes conversation good. I think it is taken too far when people fight over whether their opinion is right. People nowadays should be able to voice their opinions without breaking relationships. The main place you see argument is among elected officials. I think that both sides, Democrat and Republican, bring up great points on how to better the United States, but where we fall short is being too stubborn to see from other points of view. I think we come together with good intentions, we can create a strong running government that creates good opportunities for everyone. That's from Andrew Karcher of Omaha. Pay later versus pay now. Our federal government has been operating on the buy now, pay later plan for decades. When will reckoning occur? Economist Alan Bellew predicts it to be in the year 2030. That is when he says interest on public debts payments of entitlement benefits and other costs will consume the lion's share of federal spending. How might this looming debt crisis be resolved? Government leaders could do nothing, letting benefits fall precipitously, or a tax could be increased, or benefits could be reduced or delayed, or the debt could be monetized, with the Federal Reserve persuaded to print enough money to cover the debt, an action that would amount to a hidden tax on all dollar-denominated assets. I suspect this last scenario to be the most likely, as voters could not then point their collective finger at any one group of individuals as the culprits. Make no mistake, pay later will one day become pay now. From Robert Rainey of Omaha. Congress and priorities. Issues in need of urgent attention: healthcare, immigration reform, deficit, national debt, the U.S., Mexico, Canada trade deal, infrastructure, big tech privacy and security issues, Chinese theft of intellectual property, the Chinese trade imbalance, tax reform, the opioid crisis, education, election security, and voter protection, and workforce readiness. What the Congress is working on? Impeachment. Tim R. Riley of Omaha. Babies need soothing. In his October 14th column, John Rosemond, your favorite guy, declares that a young mother was spoiling her baby by picking him up when he cries. He suggests this sets up the baby for always wanting ice cream or some sort of drug. This is utter nonsense, as newborns need comforting and connection and a sense of security from their parent. More importantly, Rosemond fails to address the reason why the baby may be crying. First, what may be causing this? Hunger, perhaps? Illness? Infants are totally dependent creatures and have no mechanism for being able to help themselves or to find comfort. They are very sensitive to digestive ills and becoming overly tired. Studies show that some babies are more sensitive than others and require more patience and soothing. Parents should not feel they have done something wrong when they have a child like this. They need to not read Rosemond's advice and should go with their gut instinct. They should also be assured that many studies confirm that people who get caring and loving affection as infants grow up to be more secure and stronger adults. And that's from Charlotte Shields of Papillion. Maybe John Rosemond needed more holding. Larry's rolling his eyes.
Is that it for you? Is that?
Yeah, that's my whole public pulse there.
Well, back to more commentary. This is entitled "Intolerance in Academia Leaves One Nearly Breathless." This is column written by Walter E. Williams. He is from Creators Syndicate. If you need an accurate update on some of the madness of the nation's institutions of higher learning, check out Minding the Campus, a nonprofit independent organization. John Leo, its editor-in-chief, says that the organization's prime mission is dedicated to the revival of intellectual pluralism and the best traditions of liberal education at America's colleges and universities. Leo's most recent compilation of campus madness leaves one nearly breathless. In the USA Today op-ed, Emily Walton, a sociology professor at Dartmouth University, said that all college students should take a mandatory course on Black history and white privilege. She says that by taking her class, white students come to understand that being a good person does not make them innocent, but rather they too are implicated in a system of racial dominance. Walton adds, after spending their young lives in a condition of white blindness, that is, the inability to see their own racial privilege, they begin to awaken to the notion that racism has systematically kept others down while benefiting them and other white people. This is inculcating guilt based on skin color. These young white kids had nothing to do with slavery, Jim Crow, or other horrible racial discriminatory acts. If one believes in individual responsibility, he should find an indoctrination by Walton offensive. To top it off, she equates the meritocratic system of hard work with white discrimination against minorities. If you thought integration was in, check out the University of Nevada. Based on a report in the College Fix, John Leo describes how integration on that campus is actively discouraged and at taxpayer expense. University provides separate dorms for different identities, including Howelltown for black students, Stonewall Suites for LGBTQ students, the women-only housing of Tenapa community, the healthy living floor for tofu and kale lovers, and study-intensive floors for those who want to graduate. According to a New York Post report, New York City school administrators have been taught that pillars of Western civilization such as objectivity, individualism, and belief in the written word all are examples of white supremacy. All school principals, district office administrators, and superintendent teams were required to attend the anti-white supremacy training put on by the city Department of Education's Office of Equity and Access. They learned that a belief in an ultimate truth, objectivity, leads to a dismissal of alternative viewpoints or emotions as bad, and that an emphasis on the written word overlooks the ability to relate to others and leads to teaching that there is only one right way to do something. Administrators learned that other hallmarks of white supremacy included a sense of urgency, quantity over quality, and perfectionism. Richard Carranza, New York City school superintendent, says the workshops are just about what our base biases are and how we work on them. Michael Bloomberg, former New York City mayor, says that political rage and increasingly polarized discourse are endangering our nation. Americans used to move forward productively after elections regardless of which side won. Now, we seem paralyzed by absolute schism and intolerance. Bloomberg pointed to colleges as a prime example of a rising level of intolerance for different ideas and free speech. Stephen Girard, a professor at Williams College in Massachusetts, serves as an example of campus intolerance. Students declared Girard an enemy of the people after he suggested that Williams College join other schools in signing onto what's called the Chicago Principles. That statement, published by the Committee of Freedom and Expression at the University of Chicago, calls for free speech to be central to college and university culture. Williams College students said free speech is a part of a right-wing agenda as a cover for racism, xenophobia, sexism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, transphobia, alibism, and classism. Bloomberg pointed out that fewer than 70 of Americans' 4,000 colleges and universities have endorsed or adopted the Chicago Statement. State governors and legislatures can learn something from their Alaskan counterparts who slashed public spending on the University of Alaska by 41%. There's nothing better than the sounds of pocketbooks snapping shut to bring a bit of sanity to college administrators. This column written by Walter E. Williams, who writes for the Creators Syndicate. Let's have more on John Roseman. No, it's not. Go ahead.
He's something. I'm glad at least we are reading him in the opinion area, so that's where he kind of belongs there. He's not news. Okay, Nebraska. Let's see, we've got 4 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nebraska's tech opportunities. Experience in other states shows that tech-related industries can be powerful sources of economic growth and good-paying jobs, with a significant appeal for young people. Nebraska has a crucial need to strengthen its tech sector. New initiatives such as the Nebraska Tech Collaborative often offer encouragement. The collaborative, initiated by the Exarban Foundation, is a partnership of business leaders and others from across the state to boost Nebraska's number of high-tech workers. The need is great. Nebraska ranked 40th in advanced industries in science, math, and technological fields, a 2016 Brookings Institution study said. Each year, the state loses a net of about 2,000 college-educated men and women aged 25 and older. Only 9 other states do worse than Nebraska in that regard. Committees with the Nebraska Tech Collaborative are working on important goals, working with K through 12 and higher education to nurture the long-term supply of tech workers, boosting the recruitment of women and minorities in the tech sector, and creating more internships, helping career changers and veterans move into tech fields, and recruiting workers from other states. Such work complements the first-year goals of the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce, which aims to attract 10,000 new market tech workers with strengthen opportunities for 10,000 local tech workers who are underemployed or unemployed. The Chambers of Commerce for Omaha and Lincoln have made a smart move by jointly marketing themselves as a regional tech hub. The outreach initiative, with the slogan Opt In, targets tech workers in Chicago, Detroit, Denver, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The Chamber intends to add Kansas City. Although it should be no surprise that tech sector economic opportunities in states such as Texas, Massachusetts, and North Carolina pull in large number of recruits, Nebraska can build its own success by capitalizing on its own areas of tech sector strength. Such specialties include sports technology, high-tech agriculture, bioscience, and biotechnology. The vision shown by Huddle, the Lincoln-based sports technology company, has brought us tremendous success, as shown by the construction of a 7-story, $25 million headquarters in downtown Lincoln 2 years ago. Nebraska is home to agricultural technology companies, including software firms iNet Solutions Group and Grainbridge Corp., and livestock technology firm Quantified Ag. Blair has an impressive bioscience complex. Medical technology also offers opportunities in Nebraska, as shown by the success of Virtual Incision Corp., a medical device company founded by the University of Nebraska Lincoln engineer and a surgeon at the University of Nebraska Med Center. In addition, career academies across the state link schools to local businesses. Students at UNL's Rakes School of Computer Science and Management regularly move on to strong career choices. Low and moderate income students are receiving aid to study computer coding at Metropolitan Community College, which has made major investments in tech-related training facilities. Through these and other efforts, Nebraska has promising opportunities to bolster its competitiveness and growth through greater high-tech success. Larry?
It is 11:20 by our sundial here in the closed, dark room we call the studio. It is now time for living, entertainment, advice, and food section. I'll start off by reading the column called Dear Amy, written by Amy Dickinson. She is a syndicated columnist writes for hundreds of newspapers throughout the country. Headline, Time to End Rocky Marriage. Dear Amy, my husband and I have been together almost 19 years and have 2 children together. We've had our ups and downs. Approximately 5 years ago, we had an argument and he kicked me out of home, which led me to stay with my mother out of town. During this time, I begged to come home and was denied. After about a month, I discovered that he had flown out of state, rented a hotel room and rental car for 3 days so he could meet a 19-year-old girl he met on Instagram.
Oh!
I don't know if it was out of retaliation or feeling rejected. Probably both. I also had an affair, which I regretted every day since. I have forgiven him, and he claimed the same. I thought things were good. Last winter, I stumbled upon a letter he had written to a 26-year-old heroin addict who was, at that time, in prison for a drug possession charge she caught right after they met. They were having an intense emotional affair. We were working past that and in therapy. Things started getting better until I stumbled upon an email confirmation of a review he had posted about an escort he had been with. He confessed to having paid contact with 10 different escorts over the past year. I'm at the end of my rope. I love him, but he's trying to justify it by claiming I was ignoring him. I was going to school, working out to try to be better and better our financial problems. I can't even look at him without thinking about his disgusting behavior. What do? I don't want to throw away 19 years. Our kids have been staying with their grandparents to spare them this drama, but they obviously know that things are not good. Please help. Signed, R. from Colorado. Dear R. Sigh. You don't say how old your children are. Within the last 5 years, their mother has been kicked out of the home for an extended period, and their dad went on an out-of-town sex bender. Since then, the drama has been near constant. And can I just mention that a guy who posts an online review of a paid escort is a guy who is begging to get caught? I could lecture you about putting your children first, and I hope you are capable of that. For now, the kids have been put out of the home so that their parents can continue to play out their relationship drama. I have to assume that their lives are more stable with their grandparents, but you must imagine the longer-term impact on them. Your behavior now is literally scripting their future. You say you two are in therapy, but it's hard to imagine that a competent therapist would counsel you to stay together. My advice for you is to get tested for STDs, undertake the process of dissolving your marriage. You might interpret this as throwing away 19 years, but I would tell you that this is a lifeline to a fresh start. Amy writes, "Dear readers, today I was in the doctor's office getting the flu shot." And she writes, "Ahem, you should too. The RN administering the injection said, 'Amy, I have a bone to pick with you.' Now, I'm used to these conversations, but this admonition from a healthcare professional about to jab me with a needle really got my attention. She proceeded to tell me that when I answer questions from readers regarding depression, in her opinion, I tend to offer compassionate and correct counsel. And then she proceeded with the bone picking. 'You do a good job, but leave out the most important part,' she said. What's that? Anyone struggling with a mental health issue should visit their primary care physician first. Mental illness is often linked to other medical problems. A physician can help with the initial diagnosis and develop a care plan." I responded that I thought this was more or less common knowledge, perhaps didn't need restating, but I think I'm wrong on that. And I'm grateful to this concerned healthcare professional for pointing that out. Kendra, do you have any living or entertainment news?
I do. I'm just trying to absorb that. Oh my God. He wrote a review on the escorts. I'm going to have to read this. Did they say it was a review good?
Let's ask John Roseman about
Oh
that.
my gosh. Oh, run, honey. Run now. At UNO. Dogfight about macho Marines and a cruel bet takes time to warm up. This is a review of a stage performance at UNO. Dogfight, the season opening show for the University of Nebraska at Omaha Theater Department, is the antithesis of the happy, fluffy musical. Written by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul and produced off-Broadway in 2012. This is the story of Marines who have one final night of carousing in San Francisco before they're shipped off to Okinawa and then Vietnam. The night is November 21st, 1963, the day before the assassination of President John F. Kennedy and several decades before any of the performers were even born. It sounds pretty heavy, and it is. No raindrops and roses here. Even though it's about a bygone era, it offers a lot to young actors. The sometimes catchy but mostly unmemorable music is used throughout to propel the plot, rather than, just pausing the action for a pretty song. A departure from more traditional musicals. It's written in a quick, frequently staccato and undeniably modern style, making it fun for young actors to sing. The script is raw, real, and profane, with some multi-dimensional characters. The number of obscenities likely will shock some audience members, and the liberal use of a curse that many find blasphemous is especially jarring. After a while, the language started to wear on me, but I couldn't deny its authenticity. It moves fast and gives students a versatile experience. Everyone sings and dances, and many also have lines, both comical and serious. It's a great addition to a resume. It offers a compelling story to the theater goer as well. In the show, a dogfight is a bet. Each Marine invites a girl to a party, and the one with the ugliest date wins. Oh my gosh, that's what that means? I am so clueless. The lead up to the party and the event itself takes up a fair amount of time, and the cruelty of the bet made it hard to like the first act, though it's featured several engaging ensemble numbers and a terrific performance by Delaney Jackson as Marcy, a prostitute who wins the wager for her date. Bolin, which is Jared Stronasek, who does a good job with a pretty unlikable character, that bet made me squirm. which no doubt was the intent of the writers. It redeems itself in Act 2 as the main characters seem to mature over the course of one important evening. In the beginning, Eddie Birdlace, Isaac Glover, is a stereotypical Marine macho chauvinistic. Rose Feeney, Abby Coleman, is a naive and idealistic waitress who wants to be a folk singer. When Eddie takes her to the party, it's her first date. Glover and Coleman do a good job giving Isaac more heart and Rose more strength and courage as the show progresses. I found a lot to like in their transformation, and by the end, I was heartened and moved. Other takeaways. The set, designed by Theater Department Chairman Stephen L. Williams, is plain yet versatile with nothing more than scaffolding that resembles a bridge, movable steps, and 2 sliding garage-like doors underneath the stage that facilitate changes to a diner, a restaurant, and a bedroom. The changes are a little chaotic at times, but overall, it worked. Junior Chris Sheridan's projections about the set make everything more real. When Marines are on a bus, for example, they're sitting on the movable steps, and the photo of a bus interior is shown on the wall. The steps also are used as the trolley for Eddie and Rose, with another cast member rolling them around the stage as a real trolley is projected behind them. It's innovative, charming, and surprisingly believable. Other projections include the Golden Gate Bridge, a Marine recruiting posters, war protests, and more. The colorful costumes by faculty member Valerie St. Perry Smith are fun, kitschy, and extremely relevant. The vocal work is fine, especially when everyone is singing together, but interestingly enough, there weren't any standout vocalists. I think that's partly because the music doesn't lend itself to soaring solos such as those in other musicals. Much of it's choppy and not particularly melodic. It doesn't hold up well in comparison to other scores, both modern and classic. The verdict: faculty member D. Scott Glazer and adjunct instructor Mariah Mangiamelli, the show's co-directors, have helped their students create a worthwhile evening of theater about a difficult time in the U.S. history. It also offers an audience fodder for post-show conversation. Not bad for the first show of the year. Larry, have you ever done a dog fight?
No.
Good. That's a good answer. You'd be in a lot of trouble. That's like Dinner for Schmucks. That's a good movie. Have you ever seen that? It's funny.
No.
It's where you bring the most ridiculous person to a dinner.
Bring me?
Well, sure, you could be my schmuck. Yeah.
It is just about time. We've got about a half a minute to go till we get to money, markets, and business. I think we'll start on that. In fact, the clock did turn over to 11:30. That's our time slot for that. I'll start off in the money section with the headline, "Let this soak in. Water retention is crucial. Living roots from perennials and cover crops help soil absorb better, prevent runoff," researcher said. And again, this is in the money and business section of the paper. Keep living roots in the soil to get more precipitation absorbed. That was a key takeaway from a University of Nebraska-Lincoln researchers' deep dive into water retention practices. Water retention is important, especially when you consider last spring's devastating floods that left water standing in many farm fields, disrupting the planting season. UNL's Andrea Bashi and a research partner found that planting cover crops and perennials could significantly improve the ability of the soil to soak up heavy rains. If water doesn't get into the soil, if it doesn't infiltrate, then it's going to run off and contribute to erosion or water pollution, said Bashi, assistant professor of agronomy and horticulture. And as climate change brings about increased droughts and heavy rainfall, these practices could help farmers stabilize their, and I have to switch pages here, excuse me for that, stabilize their practices. We want to try to be proactive about how we can help producers and help our soils and landscapes respond better when we have more of these severe events, she said. The reason that cover crops and perennials are so effective is that they break through compacted layers of soil, said Aaron Hurd, Nebraska soil health specialist at the Natural Resource Conservation Service. Even if a farmer has moved to no-till practices, there is still a layer of compacted dirt underground. Roots help break that up, allow water to flow through. In 2017, about 3.8% of total harvested acres in Nebraska used cover crops. It's a small figure, but it's up from 1.9% in 2010. Excuse me. Conservation Service offers grants to help farmers implement this practice. For those in the program, it reimburses $33.50 an acre. The estimated total cost is $67 an acre. though that depends on some factors like what crop is used. Hurt said another barrier is that many farmers want to see data before they adopt a new practice, and this new study is helpful. That sort of information, when that comes out, and folks have a foundation of information to stand on, and they can move forward with confidence, he said. Bashy, along with Marcia DeLong, the Union of Concerned Scientists, looked at 89 studies about water retention. The analysis focused on 5 practices: no-till farming, cover crops, crop rotations, perennial plantings, and cropland grazing. The data on no-till farming was inconsistent. Rotating cash crops seemed to have no substantial influence, and according to the few studies on the practice, allowing livestock to graze on cropland reduced water retention. Perennial plantings and cover crops seem to have the most impact on soil water retention. Cover crops are those that are planted during the off-season in order to retain the benefits of having a plant in the ground during that time. Perennial plants are those that live for multiple years, so even during the off-season they leave living roots in the ground. The research suggests that the continuous presence of root systems may open up more ways for water to infiltrate, Bashy said. She this year spoke to a congressional caucus focused on soils about the results of the analysis and other research, including the study of 17 field sites across Nebraska. Bashy said even home gardeners can implement their findings by planting more perennials or using their own cover crops in areas where annuals are planted. The Nebraska legislature this year approved the creation of the Healthy Soils Task Force. Healthy soils are those with more carbon or living matter in it, said Chairman Keith Burns, a Bladen farmer who also runs a cover crop seed business. The benefits of healthy soil, he said, include being better for the environment, producing healthy food, saving money for the producer. It works really well. It allows them to make more money, but it's also environmentally better, Burns said. And yes, it increases water absorption, which in turn helps prevent flooding and erosion. Hurd said every farmer he talked to that had cover crops during this year's flooding said those fields fared better than others nearby. And cover crops can help the soil recovery from the effects of the flood, allowing production to resume faster, he said. Merritt County farmer Noah Seam told the U.S. Department of Agriculture that his use of rye as a cover crop helped prevent damage during this year's floods. He said the rye held the soil in place. In a post on the USDA site, Syme said, "I cannot imagine what that field would have looked like if the rye had not been there." Kendra, more business.
That's interesting thought. Okay, despair in Burgundy and beyond as U.S. tariffs impact EU products. Larry, they're going after our wine. In Chablis, France, French vintners are begging for government aid. Italian farmers are scrambling for new export markets, and American shoppers are about to face supermarket sticker shock on European products. That's because some $7.5 billion in U.S. tariffs on European food, wine, and other goods took effect on Friday in response to illegal EU subsidies to plane maker Airbus. Nothing of this. The U.S. is also accused of illegal subsidies to Boeing, and the EU Trade Commissioner Cecilia Malmström threatened Friday to impose retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products. But she held out hope that negotiations could prevent a trade war escalation that would have global fallout. Lois Moreau feels the sting of the Trump administration's wine tariff personally. A sixth generation Chablis producer in Burgundy, he cut his teeth in California, where he lived for 10 years before taking over the family business in 1998. Since then, he's worked to expand his American business, traveling to the U.S. 3 times a year to promote his top-quality white wines. Around 8% of his exports, or roughly 17,000 bottles, go to the U.S. each year. Where is the logic? It's not fair, Moreau told the American press. He said he and other Chablis producers feel they are being held hostage to an unrelated political dispute. We have good relations with our U.S. consumers, he said. This whole thing, it's a mess in a way. It's really putting some stress and tension on this relationship. The U.S. is the number one market for French wine exports, and Moreau estimates the tariffs could cost him €80,000 or $90,000 in revenue over the next 6 months, a 20% loss of his U.S. businesses. French wine exporter group FEVS asked for government help to compensate for an expected drop in the sales as American consumers shun French varieties for cheaper wines in the U.S. or elsewhere. And it's not just France. At Rome's Testaccio market, which is packed with wheels of parmesan and strung with cured meats, food shop owner Enzo Palatano urged Italian politicians to fight harder to protect Italy's economic interests. Palatano, I think that's right, joked that Trump was very nice to help Italians by slapping tariffs on world-renowned delicacies that Italy prides itself on. Italy's main farm lobby has forecast a 20% drop in sales of agricultural products that represent €500 million in exported value, and called on the government to help promote Italian goods in other markets instead. German Riesling white wine is among the many products about to get more expensive for American shoppers. Germany's government isn't happy, but it's staying prudent for now. We regret that it's come to the imposition of tariffs by the U.S. because the U.S. is, of course, harming itself, too, in the end. Economy Ministry spokeswoman Beat Baron told reporter in Berlin. Higher tariffs will weigh on the U.S. economy and U.S. consumers. French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said the tariffs are an aggressive gesture and an economic mistake for the U.S. Le Maire, on 3-day visit to Washington, said the decrease in French wine exports due to the tariffs is estimated to €300 million next year. He warned that European countries are ready to retaliate if they don't reach a negotiated solution. And 15 U.S. and EU spirit associations said in a letter sent to the Trump administration and the EU's Executive Commission that there are no winners in a trade war, and called for an immediate end to tariffs on distilled spirits and wines. Our industries are collateral damage in trade disputes that have nothing to do with the beverage alcohol section. The tariffs come at a particularly bad time for French winemakers, who also feel threatened by Brexit, a contracting global economy, and a changing climate that is altering harvest patterns. Wine Association representatives have been meeting with French government officials to try to find ways to defer paying the tariffs, Moreau said. And on Friday, as the new rule took effect, workers in Moreau's warehouse packaged more than 1,000 bottles to export to Canada. Larry, that's it. There's a lot of people who are going to go, that's just it.
Are you done with wine, or
I am done.
I mean, with wine altogether, or because of tariffs, or?
I don't drink it. I mean, I drink a little of it, so my husband is going to be freaking out. So
We do once in a great while.
he orders cases.
Whoa! I'm
But-
from over your house.
He gets the TCM wines. The movie channel, you know? The
Oh, okay,
TCM?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have ones that are like the Dean Martin wine. Can you imagine that? Yeah.
cool.
So he belongs to their wine club.
Well, it's now 11:40. It's time for sports. I'll be starting off with the Lincoln Journal-Star edition of sports. The headline: in state softball wrap-up, Ball and Nishi were set on big finish. This article written by Clark Grell. He is a staff writer with the Lincoln Journal-Star. Sometimes it's hard to find the words to describe how a player performs on the big stage. At times, there are no words at all. Papilla La Vista's Jordan Ball and Wayne's Tori Nishi had those kind of performances at last week's state softball tournament at Bill Smith Complex, leaving coaches speechless and spectators in awe. Ball, spelled B-A-H-L, the hard-throwing junior and Oklahoma recruit, opened the tournament with 3 no-hitters. Elkhorn got a few hits against her in the final, but Ball still had electric stuff on the final day in helping the Monarchs cap a perfect season with a Class A state championship. Nishi, meanwhile, played the leading role in guiding Class B Wayne to a second straight state championship and 4th overall. She was her dominant self in the circle. But how about that final day? In 3 games, 1 against Seward, 2 against Beatrice, Nishi was 6 for 7 at the plate with 10 RBIs and 5 home runs, including the go-ahead 3-run shot in the 7th inning in the decisive game against Beatrice. Asked if he had ever, excuse me, I have to scroll down here, ever witnessed an individual performance like that, Wayne coach Rob Sweetland said, no. And Sweetland has seen some great performances, including several from pitcher Molly Hill. Words can't describe how awesome a day she had, Sweetland said of Nishi, a senior in South Dakota State recruit. At the end of Friday, the state's top 2 pitchers had led their respective teams to state championships. Their vast skill sets played a big part in that, but Ball and Nishi also were extremely motivated and focused. Ball and her Papio teammates were determined to make sure that didn't come up short again after losing to Lincoln Southwest in the 2018 state final. This was just a statement for us, Ball said. All season, all tournament, and now it feels good that it's done. Initially, she simply wants to end her high school career with another state trophy. It means the world, said Nishi, who struck out 87 batters, gave up only 4 earned runs in 6 state tournament games this past week. This is the way I wanted to end my season. My high school career, I wanted to end it here, and I wasn't going to give up. Both standout pitchers had help around them. Wayne's young roster came up with timely hits and spotted Nishi an early lead in multiple games at state. Ball sets the tone for Papio, but the Monarchs don't have a weak spot in the batting lineup. They created a lot of pressure on the base paths, and the defense is there too. We're really confident in our defense behind Jordy as well as our offense, which is just amazing, Monarchs coach Todd Peterson said. They said, rely on your teammate, and it's pretty easy to do that when you have a team like this. He further writes, more on Papio's historic run. Papio La Vista became the first Class A team to finish the season unbeaten, going 36-0. More impressive, the Monarchs never trailed in a game this season. They won 29 of their 36 games by 6 runs or more, and only 2 teams played within 3 runs of Papio. Both those games came in the Metro Tournament. Bellevue East was tied with Papio at 2-2, entering the 5th inning before losing 5-2. Omaha Marion and Papio were scoreless going into the 5th, before the Monarchs plated runs in the 5th and 6th to win 2-0. Ball, meanwhile, finished the season with a .15 earned run average, the 5th best ERA in state history, and the best ERA since the pitcher's circle was moved from 40 feet to 43 in 2018. He further writes, Elkhorn Wayne, move up, find success. Papillion La Vista wasn't the only school to make history in Hastings. Wayne became the first school to win state titles in 2 different classes. The Blue Devils also did it in back-to-back fashion after winning Class C in 2018. Elkhorn became the first school to record a Class B state championship and a Class A state runner-up finish. Elkhorn won Class B in 2004, 05, 06, 07, 14, and 2018. Fairbury also made history, winning its first state softball title. And lastly, he writes, the long run. There's a unique bond in softball that you don't see in a lot of other high school sports. A lot of the coach-player relationships are deeply rooted and go beyond the 4-year high school experience. Beatrice's Gary Little has coached the Lady Orange's 6 seniors since they were 10 years old. The group's competitiveness stood out to him immediately, Lyle said before the state tournament. Crete's Sean Carr has been coaching his group of seniors since they were playing for his 8 and under team. Fairbury coach Taylor Beal recalls dropping her own kids off at daycare and seeing the current Jeff seniors there. She also has been coaching her group of juniors since they were 5. To bring those 2 groups together, it was pretty big, Beal said. Carr said he viewed his players as his own kids. I haven't had a daughter old enough to graduate, but graduation is just a bittersweet day when you have to watch your kids go out into the world, and that's kind of what I feel today, Carr said. Extremely proud of all the things they've accomplished, but then inside a little sad because I don't get to watch it anymore. You can catch the writer, Grill, at LincolnJournalStar.com. Kendra.
In Major League notes, Iowa umpire who works ALDS dies. Eric Cooper, the Major League Baseball umpire who worked the AL Division Series 2 weeks ago, died. He was only 52. Commissioner Rob Manfred announced Cooper's death on Sunday. Cooper, who graduated from Hoover High School in Des Moines and Iowa State, died after having a blood clot. He had knee surgery earlier in the week and was recuperating at his father's home in Iowa. Changes to a Cubs organization that is leaning more heavily on technology. Larry?
Back to the Lincoln Journal-Star. The column written by Ron Powell is prep football ratings. We list the major classes throughout the state and their standings and his comments on them. In Class A, Bellevue West is still number 1 with an 8-0 season. Lincoln Southeast, number 5 still. His comments. No surprises last week means no changes in the ratings this week. The Millard South and Omaha Westside game Thursday is the premier matchup of Week 9 as the District 5 title will be on the line. It appears Lincoln Pius X has secured a playoff spot with District 2 runner-up position based on its 21-14 come-from-behind win over Norfolk Friday. Class B, Omaha Skutt is still 8-0. His comments. Hastings quarterback Jared Sinek threw a Class B state record 9 touchdown passes Friday, and the Tigers needed every one of them as they held off Beatrice's upset bid 64-56. The regular season finale at home against Northwest should be a shootout with Vikings quarterback Ron Sanders throwing for 1,088 yards and 12 TDs this season. The Northwest Hastings matchup is for the undisputed District 3 title. North can get a share of the District 2 crown if it can upset defending state champion number 1, Omaha Skutt, which has a 21-game winning streak. In Class C1, Pierce is 8-0. In fact, there are 4 in the top with 8-0, perfect 8-0 seasons. His comments. The only change is Kearney Catholic being slightly punished for losing at home to Adams Central by 23 points. In that game, Adams Central quarterback Evan Johnson broke both the Class C1 state career passing yards record and career completions record. In Class C2, Oakland Craig is still 8-0. There are 3 in the top 10 in Class C2 with perfect records, 8-0. Oakland Craig is at the top. His comments. Despite not having all-state wide receiver Lucas Vogt, BRLT pulled out an overtime win over Bergen. Excuse me, I must have missed something here. Okay, there we go. An overtime win over Bergen 1 week after Oakland Craig destroyed Bergen 52-0, so a change at the top seemed appropriate. BRLD falls to 3rd after being in the top spot. While the District 4 title is still very much in the air, the top 4 teams, Aquinas, Centennial, North Bend Central, and Shelby Rising, are all in the top 10 in wild card standings, so all 4 appear to be in good shape to make the 16-team playoff field. The Wilbur-Claytonia at Malcolm game Friday is for District 1 title, as both teams are 4-0 in district play. Class D1, at the very top, with perfect 7-0 record, is Howells Dodge. He writes, Cambridge's win at Dundee County Stratton and Neely Oakland's loss to Elkhorn Valley account for this week's changes. Wakefield, which is ineligible for the playoffs, get a playoff-type game at the undefeated Wisner Pilger to finish the season. The Arcadia Loop City at Elm Creek game is for the District 8 title, as both teams are unbeaten in district play. In Class D2, Humphrey SF is still 7-0. There are 3 teams in the top 10 at 7-0, Humphrey, Falls City, and Bloomfield. His comments. Central Valley won the battle of unbeatens against CWCE, which loses a spot as a result. A pair of district title games, Johnson Brock at Falls City Sacred Heart, and Playview at Humphrey St. Francis will feel like playoff contests. And lastly, in 6-man, Harvard is still at number 1 with a 7-0 win. McCool Junction, number 2, with an 8-0. They had a bye run. His comments, Creek Valley's win over Sioux County shakes up the middle of the top 10. Crawford and McPherson County Stapleton both lost and dropped out, replaced by Red Cloud and Heartland Lutheran. These ratings published by Ron Powell, staff writer for the Lincoln Journal-Star. Kendra.
A call to arms on the World Series. No shortage of quality starters. This is the serious World Series throwdown. Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, and Zach Greinke versus Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and Patrick Corbin. All of them all-star starters still pitching at their peak. It's a mound meeting that every fan can enjoy. The Houston Astros against the Washington Nationals. Capitol Hill indeed. We've got the best pitcher in the world going, and then after that we've got the best pitcher in the world going too, and then after that we got the best pitcher in the world going too. Astros third baseman Alex Bregman said, "It's going to be a lot of fun." Bregman and fellow MVP candidate Anthony Rendon did their parts to make this the year of home run, and Jose Altuve lit up Minute Maid Park with his walk-off homer to beat the Yankees in the ALCS. But the focus of this fall's classic is on the rotations. Houston opened as a 2-1 favorite at the Las Vegas Sportsbook. Cole is set to throw the first pitch Tuesday night in Houston. He led the majors with 326 strikeouts, was second to Verlander in the big leagues with 20 wins, and topped the AL or American League with a 2.50 ERA. He also is 19-0 in his last 25 starts. That includes 3-0 in the playoffs, so far allowing 1 earned run in 22 2/3 innings, while fanning 32. Cole was acquired by Astros a few months after they won the 2017 World Series. He has fit in fine with his teammates and also has gotten acquainted with some of the Washington Aces. The teams share the ballpark of the Palm Beach Spring Training Complex in Florida. I know a few guys in their rotation. I'm personally excited that they're in this position, and I'm just very excited to get in there, Cole said Saturday. They've worked their tails off. I know a lot of guys on the team, and I know how they prepare. I'm looking forward to the challenge. Like when he faces Washington's Big Bopper. Anthony Rendon is one of the greatest hitters in the game right now, Cole said. There's no real way to get him out. You just kind of hope that he misses some balls or he scores them right at your guys, I guess. I've been watching him since I was in college. It's very unique what he's been able to do, and he's just a pleasure to watch play. The clubs saw each other in February when they played in the exhibition opener, and Scherzer gave up a homer to the first batter of the game. Now, 8 months later, they meet for real. The 107-win Astros trying to capture their second crown in 3 years, and the Wild Card Nationals making their series debut. The World Series comes through Houston. I like the sound of that. I think it should be the way for many years to come, Bregman said. No slight to Bregman and other big hitters here. Altuve, the ALCS MVP, postseason star George Springer, and top shortstops Trey Turner and Carlos Correa. And not to overlook the young stars on the stage for the first time, rookies like Juan Soto and Jordan Alvarez. Yet, in an era when teams search for new pitching strategies, witness the Astros parade of relievers in Game 6 of the ALCS, the two clubs left figure to rely heavily on their starters. Fine by Houston manager A.J. Hinch. Philosophically, whether it's about the New Age opener or pulling guys third time through, most of the people that support that haven't had Verlander or Cole on their team, he said. The Nationals stack up just fine too. Consider their staff includes Anibal Sanchez, who took a playoff no-hit bid in the 8th inning. The Astros, who began at the National League expansion Colt 45s in 1962, led the majors in setting a franchise record for wins. Their playoff path was more of a struggle, beating wildcard Tampa Bay in the deciding Game 5 of the ALDS, and then stopping the 103-win Yankees on Altuve's pennant-winning homer off Aroldis Chapman in the 9th inning. The Nationals, who start as the Montreal Expos, Montreal Expos in '69, took the reverse route. A season after letting slugger Bryce Harper leave as a free agent, the Nats were 19-31 in May. The slow start prompted speculation that manager Dave Martinez would be fired and management would sell off stars at the trade deadline. Instead, the Nationals bounced back. They earned a playoff spot, eliminated the favored Los Angeles Dodgers in the NLDS, and swept the surging St. Louis Cardinals behind NLCS MVP Howie Kendrick. For Washington, the city gets its first World Series since the Senators played in 1933. And for the Nationals, there's the old October question, rest or rust? The Nationals will have a full week between games, while the Astros get 2 days off. A fact on this, Boston has 2 more days of rest last year and beat the Dodgers. But before that, the past 9 champions were the clubs that had the least rest. Martinez isn't worried. These guys have played unbelievably. I think they need a break. Some guys really needed a break. He said to heal their bodies a little bit. Are you excited about the World Series?
No. In golf, results from Sunday from South Korea. Justin Thomas had to go all the way to South Korea to collect $1,755,000 in his win, posting a 63 on Sunday, a 70 on Saturday, 67 on Friday. LPGA, D. Kang won $315,000 in Shanghai. In auto racing, at the Monster Energy Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway, which I've been to, Denny Hamlin won in a, well, we won't say what he won, a Toyota. In the NHRA finals in Dallas, in Top Fuel, Billy Torrance won over Jordan Vandergriff. Jordan Vandergriff, a son of racer Bob Vandergriff, so he's carrying on the family torch. In Funny Car, it was Matt Hagan, former Funny Car champion, winning over Bob Tasca. That'll do it for our time, for our reading of the Lincoln Journal-Star and the Omaha World Herald. I am Larry Thornton, reading from the studios of the Radio Talking Book.
And I am Kendra Karbowski, reading the Omaha World Herald. Keep spreading that laughter. I was just looking this up on the Honda thing. See, to me, it says a $23 admission. Wouldn't it be better to say save 20% or get $10 off? And then they look it up and go, holy cow, it's $23.
Yeah, why? 23, but that's still a lot to spend, isn't it?
Oh, it is. But I don't even know how much like Valak costs because I haven't been there in years.
I haven't either. I think, what did we spend last time? We took a couple grandkids. Boy, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Well, I'm going to blow this pop stand.
The app is called Be My Eyes, bringing sight to blind and low vision people. It's an app that connects blind and low vision people with sighted volunteers and company reps for visual assistance through a live video call. So what? They set it up and then I'm going to look at their house and say, that's the blue shirt on the right.
I guess.
I don't really know.
I don't understand either.
I was going to show this to Jane too.
Yeah. Well, you have a day if you can there, kid. Get that knee or leg taken care of or something.
I'll get a new one.
Yeah.
I'll get a new one. I'll be a pirate. Did you want your paper?
No.
back? Okay.
Oh, it's all.
All right.
You have a good day.
I'm throwing several pieces, but some I'm keeping.
Yeah, go ahead.
Take care.
You do.
See you next time. You have a good day too.
Yeah, you too. Are you? Have you ever heard of this app? It's called Be My Eyes.
What is it?
It's called Be My Eyes. Bring sight to blind and low vision people.
Oh, no.
And it's where it connects people. Where I just heard my voice. Oh,
You probably did.
oh no! You didn't tell me you were videotaping. I would have sat up better. You guys never do this on Monday.
Still videotaping.
I didn't.
I look better
Who
now.
set this up? I didn't.
You guys don't do this on Mondays. Oh, kill this one. Oh, yeah, I look like I'm a rotund toast.
Oh, God.
I would have worn black if I'd known that.
So you could blend in,
I
huh?
just wonder, I didn't know.
So, have you ever heard of this app?
What's it called?
It's called Be My Eyes. Bring sight to blind and low vision people.